Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo, and specifically a fantastic panel that I was able to see, which was hosted by one person. So many panels were hosted by a lot of people, and this one was just Justin Alexander. So Justin Alexander is the author of So You Want to Be a Game Master, and he was the surprise star of the con. He was there were so many good panelists, but I think I'm going to say it. I think I learned more from Justin Alexander than any other panelist. I met a lot of panelists, and they were all really great for different reasons. But the reality is, I really think I took the most away from Justin Alexander. So he did this panel on opening your gaming table, and it's one of the best panels I ever saw. I never saw a panelist. Well, actually, I did. I think her name is Heidi Silverman, and she's connected to Amazing Stories and a couple other magazines. She's like another just like out of this world panelist. But Justin Alexander really knocked it out of the park with this panel, and it really gave me a lot of thoughts. I think I literally I'm doing like 5 videos on this panel. It's pretty amazing. I walked away with a lot. All right, so what did he talk about in this panel? So he talked about opening your gaming table. So let's talk about that, okay? So what does it mean to open your gaming table? And so one of the things, he broke it down from the perspective of dedicated gaming tables. That's everybody there went through a session 0. Everybody there has their dice, has their books, has read the books, and everybody there is there for 2 years for a dedicated campaign. Everybody at the table, all 5 seats are filled, and they're filled by the same people every week. You know a dedicated table, you've been in one, especially if you're listening to this channel. An open table is completely different. It's, hey, I'm here on Friday night. This thing is running if 1 people show up or 12 people show up, right? I don't care if you come or not, right? Like, I'm running D&D. Do you want to play? Let's go. You know what I mean? It's a completely different attitude. New people are welcome. People can show up with no dice. People can show up with no books. They can show up with nothing. They can show up completely prepared, right? And it's just a different scene, open table, right? But one of the things is like we use words, right? And on the tabletop role play and on the Dungeons and Dragons side, words matter, right? Like no dungeon master, no dragon master has ever said that's semantics, and the reason why is none of it's semantics to us. Like, the difference between one letter is a difference between a world, right? Like, and so we don't believe in the term semantics. Words have freight. We crack them open with a crowbar, and we unpack everything, and we inventory it, right? Like, we care about words, right? So what does it mean to have an open table, right? Well, it means everything Justin Alexander talked about, but a lot more, right? And so today I want to talk about a question I asked him based on one of the things I was thinking about while he was talking. So while he's talking, I'm taking all these notes, and you can see my notes. They're right on Facebook. They're right on Twitter. They're from that, you'll find them within that period when, January 17th to January 19th. You can see my notes, right? So I'm taking these notes, but I'm also thinking, and I'm like, okay, what does it mean to have an open table, right? And so what does it mean to have an open table? Well, really, we're talking about 4 groups, right? First of all, marginalized groups, LGBTQ, people of color, gender, right? That's covered. We've covered that for 10 years, but that is part of an open table. I don't need to talk about that anymore because it's been talked to death, right? And it wasn't talked to death for nothing. We achieved it. Like, we really do have way more diversity at the table than we ever did before. And those subjects are not new. They're not new to anyone, right? There's nobody left who doesn't know that they shouldn't have LGBTQ POCs and all genders at their table, right? Like, we've covered it, right? Okay. So, okay, put that there, right? Then, and I agree with that. LGBTQ should be at the table. People of color should be at the table. All genders should be at the table. The only reason I'm saying is, like, there's a point where you need to go past and start having other conversations, right? And that's where we are now. And let's talk about these 3 other groups. Offensive people. That's a group. Is your table open to offensive people? Right? It's an interesting question, right? And I already answered it if you go back, check the last video, right? Okay. All right. Let's talk And then the other two groups are bad people and muggles. Today, I'm going to talk about bad people. Let's talk about bad people. All right. I'm sorry. Let's talk about bad players. Bad players. Now, this is fascinating, right? And one of the things that really blew my mind with Justin Alexander is because he didn't because he didn't spend 45 minutes of his 50 minutes talking about that first group, which we've done that for 10 years. And like, there's a point where, you do progress the conversation. And again, I care about this because I really do care about language, right? And that subject took so much space for so long. There was no time to talk about anything else, right? But now we have that time, and let's talk about other things, right? So I talked about offensive people, right? Now let's talk about bad players. Bad players are different than offensive people. Bad players are people who come to your Dungeons and Dragons table, right? Your open table, right? And they're bad. How are they bad? How are these bad players bad? First, let's tick it off, okay? Bad player. I chopped down the goblin, and and the Dungeon Master's like, great job, you did a great job, you cut him in half, good roll, you used your powers well, and great job, Sally. Okay, Esther, what do we got? What do you got for me? Wait, Dungeon Master, did that goblin have any gold? Well, okay, I get it, Sarah. You chopped the goblin in half, but we need to move on to Esther's turn, and when everybody's had a turn, we'll get back to you. Wait. Was my weapon damaged? Wait. Am I positioned well for my next attack? Is Esther going to end up in... Esther, before you take your turn, you need to move on the other side of that other goblin so that I have flanking. And the Dungeon Master's like, Sally, man, it's your turn's done. Shut it. Like, you're finished, right? Oh, no. I got other questions, right? The person who does not share the spotlight, who does not care about what's happening with the other players, right? They don't care. They're there for their own player shine. They're there for their own attention, and they're bad. They don't share the spotlight. They do not share the spotlight, okay? All right, what else? Okay, now it goes to Esther, and Sally finally shuts up, right? And now it's Esther's turn. And Esther's like, okay, and the Dungeon Master's like, Esther, what do you got, man? Now that Sally has finally shut up, what are you gonna do? Well, I'm a 5th level wizard, and there's like 7 spells on my list. I don't know. I think I want to do this one, but I don't want to do that one. Well, Esther, you need to pick which one you're gonna do. Oh, and by the way, Esther, your list is you didn't prepare your spells at all today. You're on the same, and finally Esther goes, I want Fireball. Well, Esther, that was on your list. That was on your prepared list yesterday. That wasn't on your prepared list yesterday, and you didn't update your prepared list, and Fireball isn't one of your prepared spells. Wait. So I can't do Fireball? No, because it's not prepared. Okay, well, I'll do Lightning Bolt, right? Great, no problem. Okay, Lightning Bolt, all right. What's your damage? I don't know. Let me look it up in the book. Oh man, I can't seem to find it. I'll look it up in the index. Oh, okay. Wizard, no prepared spells, right? Did not use the time around the table to get ready, and never does, right? Just like plays a complicated class and is never prepared, right? Gets caught up every single time, not ready, right? Where else can you have bad player aspects? So you can have hogs the spotlight. You could have, and then you can also have never prepared with what's next. And then the bad player forgot their character sheet, doesn't have any dice, never bought the new edition, right? Like is constantly meta unprepared, not just like doesn't know how to play their class, because Esther brought the book. Esther has dice, right? Esther actually brought chips and a soda, right? But this person rolled in and has nothing, right? Like, just not meta prepared, right? And is also on their phone, right? Like, it's like just a bad player, a meta preparation bad player, right? So okay, so and this is where we are now. Okay, so I'm thinking this in my head. I'm like, wait a second, what does open table mean? Are we open? Are we open to bad players? And the reason why I'm talking about this is I'm haunted by quests. And so actually, let me go into my question. So Justin Alexander is doing his panel, right? And so he says, okay, everybody, drops all his knowledge on dedicated table versus open table, defining the terms, starts talking about table caps and wait lists, gold, absolute content, panel content, gold. Like he's banging it out, right? And I'm like, wait a second. And so here's the question I asked Justin Alexander. So I said, hey, Justin, you're talking about an open table. What about bad players? The reason I'm asking this is I'm haunted by reading the Quest from the Infinite Staircase. That was a brilliant Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition adventure book. And in it, it talked about what do you do if your player characters try to destroy the Infinite Staircase? And I was like, wait, what? Why are designers talking about players destroying the Infinite Staircase? Only a terrible player would do that. And then I realized Dungeons & Dragons ain't getting rid of anybody. Dungeons & Dragons is keeping everybody, right? They're making sure that every marginalized group is in. LGBTQ, every gender, people of color, right? They're also making sure they're actually, I really feel from Quest from the Infinite Staircase, they're saying, we want bad players. Do not kick them out of your table. We want bad players. That is different. You go 1 centimeter right on the OSR, 1 centimeter right on the indie, and every creator and every commentator, every OSR creator and every indie creator and every OSR commentator and every indie commentator on the TTRPG side is saying, get bad players off your table. Fill your players with just the most precious, wonderful, sweet human beings who are always prepared. And trust and believe it'll be so easy, right? So easy to bring people to your OSC game, your Shadow Dark game, and you can just throw out whoever you want and go replace them with a better player. And I'm like, man, you could check that noise. It is hard getting people to sit down to play tabletop role-playing games. There aren't a lot of readers left. There's not a lot of charismatic, confident, intelligent people, and those are the only people who are attracted to Dungeons & Dragons or any OSR or any indie games, right? Those are the only people, right? So we don't, there's this myth on the OSR and the indie commentating side and on the creator side that we can all just go find these precious players who are all perfect, right? But Dungeons & Dragons ain't playing that noise. They're like, we're keeping everybody. We're keeping, we're making sure we keep every marginalized group player. We're making sure we keep every bad player. I think that was the lesson from Quest from the Infinite Staircase. And so I said, hey, Justin Alexander, do we keep bad players? And so one, to his credit, Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo, they had this mic, and so he pulls the mic to his mouth, right? And he just stops. And he was silent for 15 seconds, like he was thinking. And I could tell, I knew why he was thinking. He's just like Brandish Gilhelm. He's just like John Harper, right? Everybody at his table is a freaking genius because they're all his friends, right? And he's well-to-do. He's white, right? He's privileged. He's a coastal elite, right? Now, I'm not rich, but I'm not poor, right? I'm definitely on the upper middle. I think I'm upper middle class, right? I am privileged. I'm well educated, and I'm a coastal elite. Okay, and all these guys, man, the people they know are charismatic, confident, and intelligent. They're not dealing with bad players, right? And because they don't have them in their friend group, right? But that's not everybody. That's not everybody who plays Dungeons & Dragons. And so Justin Alexander really had to stop and think. And he said, well, I suppose, he's like, well, it's your table, right? And I don't want to tell anyone that they need to keep players that they're not comfortable with. Now, he wasn't being rude or anything. And And I said, wait. And, and actually, I didn't say wait. I was like, I raised my hand again, and I did a follow-up question. And I will say, I'm a little aggressive in these panels, right? Because I'm there and I got questions, right? And so I followed up on my question and, said loudly from the, I was like, Justin, I didn't call him by name. I was like, hey, have we reached a point where we need to start shutting, where is there an obligation for the TTRPG community to start to sacrifice dedicated tables to run open tables, right? Because that's the only way we're going to allow these. That's the only way these bad players are going to get in, because they've been cut out of dedicated tables. And I could tell Justin Alexander knew I was right. Dedicated tables, you do not make it to a dedicated table if you're a bad player. Open tables are where bad players show up, right? Open tables. That's where bad players can show up. Bad players don't survive to a dedicated table, right? And to his credit, he every time I asked a question, there was like 5 to 15 seconds of silence where he was thinking, right? This is the part in the business book where the CEO would take a bite out of his sandwich to get time to think, right? And one of the reasons why is I ain't asking regular questions. I think about Dungeons & Dragons in a different way. And I could tell a lot of the questions I posed, these people had never heard that question before. You know what I mean? And so Justin Alexander was like, no, I don't think we're obligated to shut down dedicated tables to run open tables. Justin, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. You can't spell open table, right? Like, you're talking about it, but you're not doing it, right? And the reality is, I think a lot of these game designers, right, they're building games for other game designers. Dungeons & Dragons is building games for everyone. Dungeons & Dragons is building a role-playing game experience. Dungeons & Dragons is building a role-playing experience for everyone. For everyone, including the bad players. They're not leaving them behind. And the OSR and Indie are not admitting it. They're not having this conversation. They're leaving the bad players behind. And the only way we actually reach a real, actual open table is when it's open to bad players, right? And the only way we're going to get there is if we start shutting down some of these dedicated tables and running open tables instead, right? That's where we get there. That's how we get there. This is a fantastic panel. It really blew my mind. I'm still thinking through everything I learned from Justin Alexander at the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo 2. You should attend Philadelphia Gaming Area Expo. It will most likely be at the Oaks, PA Convention Center. Third one should be in a year. Make sure you're there. January 2026. And actually, I can't thank everybody who volunteered at the convention, put it together, and all the panelists. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider like subscribing and have a fetch millennium.